Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks. Jack and Keith's weekend playbook. Lots to chat about. 3 Game 7s in major sports yesterday. Always exciting this time of year. With that, I welcome in my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and Michael Spink's biographer, Jack Hirsch. How are you, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith.
Fun weekend. I mean, we had 2 Game 7s yesterday, 3 Game 7s when we look at the NBA and the NHL. Always fun this time of year to get Game 7s. There's nothing better than Game 7s in sports. And, you know, we got a lot of them, it feels like, the last few years in basketball and hockey. Again, neither one of us are follow hockey like some others. We don't talk about it enough. We should. But yesterday was an exciting Game 7, and Montreal's relevant. But we'll get there in a second. Let's start with the NBA. The Pistons come all the way back to beat Orlando after being down 3-1. Wagner being out for the Magic didn't help any, but blowing that 23-point lead in Game 6 had to be weighing on their mind yesterday. The Pistons showed up and put an end to the Magic's season yesterday.
You know, you asked me, or we asked for prediction before the game yesterday, who was going to win, Orlando or Detroit. And I wavered before picking Detroit because that series should have been over. There shouldn't have even been a 7th game, with Orlando having a 24-point lead in the second half at home at Game 6. When you let a lead like that get away,
tough.
You know, it just changed the whole series, basically. And once they went back to Detroit, you know, home court had a major advantage at that point, and the Pistons, you know, finally put it all together. Kudos to Jalen Duran, who our producer, Brian Arn's been hating on a little bit. Let's call it like it is. He's been a hater when it comes to Jalen Duran.
Yep.
15 rebounds yesterday. He showed up. He was great, you know, not only rebounding on the defensive end, and we could talk all we want about Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham
put this team on his back.
Wonderful once again, proving why he's one of the best players in the game. But it was Durant and Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris shows up, has a really big game when they needed him in the crucial Game 7. And now the Pistons advance. But I kind of wonder, were the Pistons exposed to an extent having to go 7 games against the Orlando Magic? Or have the Pistons regained their earlier season form?
There is, Brian. Congratulations on your Pistons. And Durant did have a good game yesterday. Cade Cunningham has really stepped up in this series, though, and really kind of put this team on his back and showing why he's one of the best players in this game. Mrs. Chris tried to make it through it. It's sometimes basketball can be tough, but, you know, I felt it was a good watch yesterday.
Well, no. You can't use that as an example, because then use the NFL. How long do the actual plays last over a whole game compared to how long you're watching?
Yeah, I mean,
in
again,
baseball, pitches, it's not like hockey, you know, continuous action.
Yeah, I think most of these games have been pretty exciting. This game got out of hand. Really, in the third quarter.
You knew it was over. You knew Orlando didn't have the firepower to come back.
Yeah, Ben Sherrill had a nice game.
Sherrill was trying. They didn't have the firepower to come back.
It's interesting because, and we'll jump into the other series because we're going to want to talk about the games going ahead as well. And we'll have Dr. Paul Semendinger on at about 8:25-ish to talk about his game, Greatest Yankees by Numbers. I should have mentioned it at the top. I apologize. But in the other game, so we kind of we got back to some sense of normalcy as the Pistons come back and eliminate the Magic, and the Cavs hold serve and beat the upstart Raptors yesterday. I thought that game would be a little closer. It was close early, and then kind of the Cavs pulled away early in the second half. You like the Cavs better than I do. What do you feel about this team right now heading into the next
I got to tell you, you know who my favorite player is? And I've been saying this for a while, Jared Allen.
Nice player.
My favorite player is the Cleveland Cavalier. He's more than a nice player. And why wasn't he a career Brooklyn Net? Ironically, he got traded by the Nets in the James Harden deal, and now he winds up on the same Cavalier team with James Harden. And once again, in a big spot in the playoff game, James Harden comes up, I don't want to say empty, but disappointing. He shot 3 for 9. He counted on other players, to make big baskets. Whenever Harden would have the ball, he would be looking to pass all game long. He'd make a few nice passes in the corner, hoping his teammates could make the threes. But no, it just wasn't a good game. And Donovan Mitchell was so-so in the big game.
He was really okay. I think Jared Allen bails them out. Jared Allen on the bench, I think, saved the Cavs yesterday from losing this series. The two stars, as you said, Harden doesn't really show up at all. I'll call it the way I see it. And Mitchell was, only there a little bit more. So without Jared Allen, I think the Cavs are probably going to play golf today. 19
rebounds when they needed him to take over the game completely. He took over the game completely. But I'm going to tell you something with the Raptors. The first half, most of the first half, they were playing tenacious defense. They were controlling the game. In some way, somehow, it started falling apart. And then at halftime, the teams went in even. And you wonder what the heck's going on. The Raptors completely outplayed the Cavaliers, yet they're tied up going into the half. But one place sums things up in the third period. Jared Allen goes to the foul line. He misses the foul shot. The ball comes right back to him. And the Raptor player is just staying there. I forgot who it was. Doesn't box out, doesn't get the ball. And you see Scotty Barnes throw his hands up what the heck is going on? How can Jared Allen get his follow-up rebound on a missed shot? And the ball came right to Allen. He didn't go out to get it. It came right back to him, and then Allen takes it to the hoop and scores. Jared Allen was sensational yesterday. Not excellent, sensational. And the leadership he provided, he carried the Cavs, in that game. And I'm going to tell you another thing. We keep thinking of the Cavs. Well, they have their big two, Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. The realization, even though it's my favorite player, the realization set in the best player on the Cavaliers is Jared Allen. It's not Donovan Mitchell. Jared Allen is the best player. He doesn't take a lot of shots, but Jared Allen has one of the best shooting percentages in the league. One of the best. The guy's always shooting over 50% all the time, grabbing double-digit rebounds. And closing on Jared Allen, the problem that Jared Allen has, he's playing in the wrong era. You want to know why? Because if he played in the past era, he would line up against Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and more than hold his own with those guys. He would battle those guys tooth and nail. He would be in the same class as those guys if he was allowed to play like a traditional center.
Yeah, but again, he'd have to bang against a traditional center every single night, and that's just.
And he could do it, and he could more than do it. He against Hakeem Olajuwon and those guys
every night, because now you don't do that every night.
He would be able to do it because he's a great defender. He's a great defender. He blocks shots, grabs rebounds. Doesn't have to take a lot of shots, but when he takes it, it's good. I'm not going overboard on Jared Allen. I've always been this high on him. I'm not going overboard. But yesterday he showed what he could do. And yesterday his personality did come out for one game. He decided he was going to lead the team. He wasn't going to defer to Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, and good thing he did.
I'll give you, again, you have been high on Allen, and I've talked about him before. I just have my doubts. Again, he's a good player, a very good player, and was a great player yesterday. I just have my doubts if you take him and put him in that era you're talking about, because now you're not going against guys of the caliber of guys you mentioned every night. Back then, you'd be going against mostly a good big man every single night. That doesn't.
He would fit in going against the great players.
Yeah.
Let's let's say he would be a Walt Bellamy type, maybe a Nate Thurman type.
I was letting Jack have a say about Jared Allen. That's all. So
listen, okay, that's a debate for another time. It's not the I was going to say it's not the Jared Allen show, but that's what it was yesterday in the second half for the Cavaliers.
He played well. The 8 offensive rebounds, huge. Listen, they don't win the game without him yesterday. I'm telling you right now, they don't win. You're right. So yesterday,
but with Toronto, R.J. Barrett was great in the beginning of the game again.
And he faded, though.
He would carry over from what he did in Game 6 with that miracle shot, and then he kind of fell asleep again. You know, they were missing Ingram, and they were missing quickly Toronto, too. So in all fairness, they weren't at 100%. They needed someone to step up. You know, I've been very high on Scotty Barnes, but I'll be honest about it. Scotty Barnes, a certain gap has to fill in. He's not a superstar.
No, he's not.
He needs a little push to be just a little better. And when I say push, I'm not talking about motivation. Something is missing a tiny bit. You know, it's like a Devin Booker type, Scotty Barnes. Yeah. Not quite, close to being a real star, but just
this team needs a lead dog. They don't have a lead dog. They have a lot of guys who can play well in roles. But they need a lead dog like a Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard, who left. Leonard, who left. Yeah, right. Kawhi Leonard would have been the leader of that team still. Yeah, you're correct.
That's what's lacking.
I wonder Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers haven't done anything, him going there. I guess he just wanted to live in L.A., so I shouldn't say whether he regrets his decision.
Let me, Chris, I see your comment about the NHL. We'll get to that in just a second. I'm not avoiding your question. I want to finish up on basketball first. With those two series, before we go into the semis here, conference semis, I want to talk a little bit about Jaylen Brown and his comments yesterday. At first, he's knocking Embiid for flopping all day. He knows he's a flopper. And then he's saying the referee, how about losing with a little bit of grace? He says the referees had an agenda. Obviously they wanted the 76ers to be able to beat the Celtics. And you know what? Especially with the environment around sports day and people thinking games are scripted or fixed or whatever words you want to use. It's ridiculous for a player to come out and make these kind of comments because all it does is fuel the fans' ire and their fantasies about what the game is really about. Why doesn't he be quiet?
Well, no. I'm okay with him complaining about the officiating. They made more calls on Jaylen Brown than other players in other situations in the playoffs. I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is him saying they had an agenda.
Yeah, that's my problem.
What agenda? That's basically accusing them of fixing the game indirectly.
100%.
I mean, they didn't have any agenda against Jaylen Brown. Who the heck is Jaylen Brown? He's a heck of a player, but he's not quite a superstar. There are very few superstars, very few in the league. LeBron, because of his reputation, maybe you could, look at Jokic or whatever, but, Jaylen Brown doesn't quite come into that category. And I know he was a finals MVP, and I thought he should get some votes this year for the MVP award based on what he's meant to the Celtics. But no one has an agenda against Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's not a spokesman where he talked out on something in society where people are going to dislike him.
He should shut up. Yes, I agree. Listen, he's a guy who I would never really respected a lot. And this year, I kind of gained a little respect for him because while you say you're right, he's not a superstar, but without Jaylen Brown this year, the Celtics would have been in a lot of trouble. They likely would have been in a play-in series, if that, without Jaylen Brown 3/4 of the season. So, and now a lot of that good feeling from people like me who have a new respect for Jaylen Brown, now it's all wiped away, with a couple of stupid comments.
He can undo what he said by simply just apologizing today, saying, look, I'm very frustrated. And I regret saying they had an agenda. They didn't have an agenda against me. And then he could say, I still think the calls were terrible. Don't get me wrong. I think they were terrible calls. I think the officials did a poor job. But no, they didn't have an agenda against me. I was wrong to say that. If he says that, he wipes the slate clean as far as I'm concerned. But to say they have an agenda, what agenda and why? What would be their motive to have an agenda?
Well, this is my comment anytime, and I don't want to get into this larger, conspiracy thing because we'll be here. We'd do a whole show on that. But that's the mentality of the world, the sports world today. Every fan, when their team loses, thinks the game was fixed against them. And
fans are not. I hate to say it because we have fans that listen to this show, but I'm balanced.
Yes,
fans are knowledgeable. Let's be honest about it. They get petty. They get conspiracy theories and all.
It's only the segment that posts to social media about schemes.
To quote one of your favorite sports people, it's laughable.
It is laughable. Thank you for that.
The last guy who said it wound up getting in trouble. Okay?
I know where you're going. Listen, here's the thing. When it comes to those things, anybody who buys into Jaylen Brown's way of thinking, I'm a big Occam razor guy. The simplest answer is almost always the right one. And, these games aren't being fixed. Just stop.
But the league is going to take action against Jaylen Brown. They are going to take action.
They will,
And I'm against the league normally taking action against a player who complains about officiating, but you can complain to a point. I'm not for putting a muzzle on a guy, but Jaylen Brown, when he said they had an agenda, he crossed the line.
Yep.
He crossed the line he shouldn't have crossed.
And by the way, the only reason he might come back and do a mea culpa today is because the league is going to get involved, and he might walk back his comments. Otherwise, he wouldn't walk this back. I guarantee you.
I don't want him to walk him all the way back. He didn't like the officiating, and he has some evidence that the officiating went against him because there were more calls on Jaylen Brown than other players.
Yep.
So he has evidence there, to back up his thing. But the point about an agenda, how do you prove that? What's he basing it on?
It's funny, and I do want to get to the semis before Dr. Paul.
Let's leave Jaylen Brown alone here.
One last comment. I felt so good about Jaylen Brown, even in defeat. The way he played that game 7, I thought he played great. He took on Embiid defensively, but now it's all washed away. So anyway.
They were Tatum out. They were overmatched, and Embiid and Maxey, they came up big in Game 7. Something Harden, who was a Philadelphia 76, ironically, didn't do. Harden got a pass. He's lucky yesterday they survived. The Cavaliers lost, and he comes up with this performance in a Game 7. Not good.
100%. Let's get into these. We got to make our predictions for the semifinals. So tonight we've got the Knicks and Cavs kicking it off, and also I think the Thunder and the Lakers tonight, right?
I think the Sixers take the Knicks to the absolute limit, and the Knicks win this in 7 games. This series.
I think this. I'm not going to pick against the Knicks. I think some of this will carry. I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks lose tonight, quite frankly, because I think some of this energy and momentum might carry over for the 76ers. But I think the Knicks do, and I agree with you, a hard-fought 7-game battle for them. And by the way, real quickly, Embiid and kind of talking about the fans and saying, don't sell your tickets. And I've heard this morning that Philadelphia 76ers are also making sure that people in New York can't buy their tickets, because if they put in like a New York area code or whatever, they're not going to sell them the tickets.
Let me tell you, why don't they Philly fans come to Madison Square Garden and get tickets there? Maybe it costs too much. I don't know.
That was part of his plea, was to come to New York as well. So
but it is demoralizing when you have fans from another team, the visiting team, coming and taking over your building. It's bad. It's demoralizing.
To stay in the East for now, Pistons and Cavs will match up starting. I'm not sure. I think that starts tomorrow night right away. Listen, I like the way the Pistons have come back from that 3-1 deficit. I think Cade Cunningham is just playing on another stratosphere right now. I don't think the Cavs will continue this. Not with their 2 stars playing like they played last night.
I disagree. I think the Cavs are the better team. I think the Cavs have the better personnel, all in all, and I think the Cavs win that series. Long series, 6 or 7 games. I don't know. I'm going to say the Cavs in 6.
Fair. Out west, the Thunder. I guess tonight is actually San Antonio and the T-Wolves. Listen, Edwards is now questionable for game 1 in the series, I guess. I still have my doubts how effective he's going to be. I do not think this team can, with DiVincenzo already gone, if Edwards doesn't play at a pretty high level, I don't see how they can even stay in the series. I think San Antonio wins this series in 5 games.
Yeah, I'll agree. I won't expand on what you said. And I love the Wolves. I love the T-Wolves, but I agree for the reasons you said.
And Thunder and Lakers, nice little run by the Lakers. I don't know about Luka's status. I haven't seen anything new about Luka. Reeves will be getting, better game shape, but there's not going to keep up with the Thunder. Maybe they win a game, maybe.
If Luka was there, he would provide so much more firepower for the Lakers. This reminds me of when LeBron was with the Cavaliers the first time around, and he would get the best out of his team, and then they would get to the finals and play the Golden State Warriors, and they would be like so overmatched. Not the year they beat him, of course. And, he'll only be able to get so much out of him. OKC in 5.
5 games, I'll agree with that. Somehow the Lakers will find a way to win 1. I'm not sure how. And before we break, I see Dr. Paul in the back. But before we move on to baseball and Paul's book, I want to just touch on the fact that we had a Game 7 in the NHL yesterday, which Chris did have a comment about. 9 shots on goal for Montreal, and they find a way to win this game yesterday over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Congratulations to Montreal. Hockey's better when Montreal's good. Hockey's better when the Canadian teams have a chance at the Stanley Cup, which they haven't won in 34 years. So any thoughts on that game yesterday, Jack?
That is astonishing, the lack of Stanley Cups for Canadian teams. I mean, it's gone like the draft, gone so long. 9 shots, and they beat the Lightning 2-1. I mean, only 9 shots. You look at the final score and you think, the Lightning had some good goaltending. They only gave up 2 goals. Yes, they lost because they didn't put the
That's not good. 2 out of 9.
Yeah, I mean, and in Tampa Bay, believe me, that loss stings because next to the Buccaneers, hockey is more important in Tampa Bay than their Major League Baseball team, the Rays.
And Danny just has one more comment about OKC. And so with that, congratulations to Montreal. I'm glad they're moving on. And they're going to play the Sabres now. An interesting series there, too. Montreal and Buffalo in the eastern part of the NHL. So some stuff that we'll
the playoffs were interesting. You talk about rivalries. I don't know how big a rivalry that is at all, but the Flyers beating the Penguins. I mean, that was like the ultimate rivalry, I guess.
That was probably the biggest rivalry game. Yeah. And a lot of fun. And Philadelphia did manage to win that one in 7, I think, right? Yeah.
6, I think it was.
Was it 6? So congratulations to them, and Pagger Pags is happy. With that, I want to bring in. I don't have the book, unfortunately, because I did get it.
I got it here.
Oh, good. Dr. Paul Semendinger, who has a show here on the McGrath Podcast Network, which will give him a chance to plug when he gets in here, has a brand new book out. He's had several others. The Greatest New York Yankees by Number, which I've gone through a lot of this book myself. It's a very interesting concept, and we're glad Paul is going to join us today to talk a little bit about that book and some other stuff in Major League Baseball, hopefully, as we do. So good morning, Paul. How are you?
Hey, Keith. Hey, Jack. How you doing?
How you doing?
Great.
We're not going to let you off the hook. After we talk about the book for a while, we've got to talk a little Yankee baseball afterwards.
Well, I have a few other questions for Paul about baseball in general, because I think Paul and I agree more than some of the other people that I deal with on this network.
Hey, Keith, I think you and I agree very much. We've done a couple of shows together, and we've just agreed the whole time.
Yeah.
You guys have been agreeable and united about Aaron Boone being fired.
Yes, we'll pick.
I know
We're going
that.
to gang up on you later, Jack, for sure. So anyway,
let's talk about the book here.
Yeah, Paul, tell us a little about this book. What drove you to write this particular book? I'd love the concept. It's something that it's kind of novel. I don't remember anything like it. In fact, not about the Yankees specifically, but in general. I just like the approach, and I haven't gone through it cover to cover yet. But I've been kind of jumping around to some numbers that I want to check out. What prompted you to write this book particularly?
You know what? It started out as a series of posts on my Yankee site, Start Spreading the News. We actually do. We put up 3 articles every single day. And when you're trying to make content, you just start thinking of things. And one day I thought, I wonder who the greatest Yankee at whatever number was. And I said, maybe I could use that. And that's a way to fill 99 different slots. And as it grew and as people took an interest in it, I said, this is more than just a silly article for my Yankee site. This should be a book. So I gathered the articles I wrote and, I pitched it to my publisher, and the publisher said, I love the idea. But there's a difference between writing for a blog and writing for a book. When you write a book, you have to write at a higher level, right? It has to be better, much more well-written. So then I had to take all those articles and polish them and update them because this, I think I started it in 2020 or 2019, and, get all the guys who played since then and the stats that have changed and all that kind of stuff. But the idea really began just as a series of blog posts.
Go ahead, Jack. What do you got for Paul? I don't want to monopolize.
Yeah, so many numbers are being retired now.
You stuck one.
And how does this honor certain legend to the past? I know Bill Dickey and Yogi Berra had the same number 8. So it's kind of co-retired. Now, I always thought to myself about number retirements. If I was a great player myself, I would never want my number retired. I'd want to see it live on. Because every time you see someone have your number, they kind of think of you a little bit. What's your feeling on that as far as all these numbers being retired?
Well, I think the Yankees have both retired too many numbers and not the right numbers, if that makes any sense. There's guys who have their numbers retired. Good morning, Brian. There's guys that have their number retired who I don't think deserve it as much as guys who don't have their number retired. And if you're going to retire numbers, I think you need to retire all of the guys who have numbers that are deserving of retired, not just some. But I think the Yankees, if you're going to retire numbers for guys like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Joe DiMaggio, those are the greats of the greats. I get that. And if you're going to retire Elston Howard, the first black Yankee, that makes sense. And if you're going to retire Thurman Munson because he died, that makes sense. But when you start retiring the numbers of guys who were really pretty good, that doesn't really make any sense. And my concern is when you retire the numbers of guys who were kind of good and then you ignore guys who were better than them, then that creates this situation that's not fair.
But that's true.
Real quick, Jack, they've fallen in love, I think, with the 90s dynasty, right? I don't get all really, really great players or very good at least, but not maybe retired number worthy. Great players, but too many of them, don't you think?
I agree, 100%. And I've written and I've talked a lot about, hey, who doesn't love Paul O'Neill? We all love Paul O'Neill. But Paul O'Neill was not Hank Bauer, and Hank Bauer is not. And listen, there's a difference too between the number retired in Monument Park. Hank Bauer's not even in Monument Park, and yet Paul O'Neill has his number retired. It's just silly.
Nettles is another one. Is Nettles in Monument Park? He isn't, is he? No. How can that be?
The Yankees have no third baseman in Monument Park. How does that make any sense?
They've had a couple good ones too. Nettles is borderline Hall of Fame, right?
How many years is right here, my favorite player.
Clete Boyer, how many years was he with the Yankees?
Oh, actually? I'd say 8, 6. Let's see, 61, 60.
We put less of a premium on defense because hypothetically, just make believe, if I was going to list the 5 best defensive third baseman in baseball history, and let's say I put Clete Boyer number 5 for argument's sake. No one could go ballistic over it because it might be accurate. so we don't put a premium on defense. But even with Paul O'Neill, getting back to him, I remember the Yankees took their time before they announced they were going to retire his number. But meanwhile, they weren't giving it out to anyone. But where do you draw the line? You take a pitcher like Andy Pettitte. Everyone loves Andy Pettitte, but he shouldn't have his number retired. But how do you give it to someone else that freely?
Yeah, I think you can give it to another player that freely. There's other guys who are very, very good players like Andy Pettitte, and then people wore their numbers afterwards. It just gets the Yankees get this sense where they want to, they think it's an honor, or I don't even know how to articulate what I'm trying to say. You were a really good player and you're sort of a legend, so we're going to not let anybody use your number for a while. And there's a difference between Andy Pettitte and, Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig's an obvious retire his number. Andy Pettitte was a very good player. He's not even in the Hall of Fame. I mean, make that the criteria. At least get in the Hall of Fame before we retire.
But you even mentioned Thurman Munson. It's not a slam dunk to me that his number should be retired, even though some people might get upset about what I'm saying.
I'm upset right now, yes. So.
Right, okay. I mean, listen, I got into a discussion with Keith about this, about Joe Torre. And to me, Joe Torre absolutely should not have gotten his number retired. He's not he's not a legend amongst legends. Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle, Jeter, fine. Jeter was a type of legend. I believe Jeter's number should have been retired. I don't know how you feel about that. Mariano Rivera, they're the only two Yankees of recent times whose number I retire. Aaron Judge is trending towards his number being retired, but not CC Sabathia. Are you kidding me?
No way. No
I agree.
way.
Jack, we're agreeing on everything.
This is
Keith feels Joe Torre, and was flabbergasted.
I think Torre is deserving myself, but again, I don't think it's a slam dunk. But Thurman, I think is a slam dunk. I mean, he meant so much to that team that not just because his life was cut short, but because he meant so much to that team while he was here, and what leaving meant to that team as well. I think he deserves to be there.
Why are people so fascinated with numbers being retired? I mean, or just numbers in general. What's the fascination?
I think baseball especially is a game of numbers. We relate to the numbers. We relate to the statistics. We know the statistics. And players then become identified by their uniform number. And so it then becomes fun. And that's the whole premise of that book is which guys have worn which number, and then, wow, which of those guys was actually the best? And it becomes fun because some numbers have a whole lot of good guys. Like number 30 was really fun to write because you had the great Mel Stottlemyre and Willie Randolph. Yeah. And they're both great. How do you pick between them? So it's fun.
That's a question I actually had. The main question I have for you is, what was the toughest number? Because there are some that are tough. 6 is tough. 9 is tough. 8 is tough. You just mentioned 30. What was the most difficult number for you to kind of choose?
What's funny is number 1. Every time I talk about the book, people go to number 1 and they always pick the wrong guy. The easy answer is Billy Martin. He was not the greatest Yankee with number 1. There's not even a question. It has nothing to do with Jack and I's arguments from years and years.
Well, you and Billy have similar personalities, Doc.
Yes, but it's nothing. He wasn't a great player, and I did not take into account managers because it's the greatest Yankees. The managers didn't play. The Yankee players. So then you get like a baseball historian who goes, "Yeah, I know number 1, piece of cake. It's Earl Coombs." And yeah, that's a great guess. And Earl Coombs is in the Hall of Fame. And then some people say, well, it's got to be Bobby Richardson. He was on the 61 Yankees. But when you break down the numbers and you look at all the guys who wore number 1 and you look at their statistics. Now, again, the book is who was the best while wearing number 1. Like Mickey Mantle wore number 6 for a season, but he's not the greatest at number 6 because most of his career was worn at number 7.
Right.
Things like that. So the greatest Yankee while wearing number 1 is actually Bobby Mercer.
You just got me to think. You just got me to thinking. In baseball, when we talk about a no-hitter, if it's one pitcher who pitches the whole game, we're excited about the no-hitter. But if it's a combined no-hitter, we're not as excited. Let's be honest about it. Is there such thing as retiring a number based on several excellent players wearing it? You know, and just kind of indirectly honoring all of them. That's an interesting point. Like a number one. You had a number really good guys wearing it.
Well,
and just retire the number because of body of work type. You know what I'm saying there.
I know what you're saying there, and it's an interesting concept. And I think the Yankees opened up that idea when they retired number 8 twice. You know, I wrote the book with Roy White, who was a great Yankee, very underrated, a longtime player, represented the team extremely well since the mid 60s, right up until today.
15 years.
Right. Yeah, you could say he deserves his number retired. And to retire Roy White's number wouldn't be taking a number out of circulation because it's already retired for Joe Torre. So why not just say, yeah, it's retired for White too?
No, White's not worthy of having his number retired, but he's worthy of being in Monument Park. This is where I don't want to get carried away. Retired numbers should just be for legendary type players.
I agree.
Players with an incredible amount of impact, not just outstanding players. That's why I was upset hearing CC Sabathia getting his number retired. I mean, CC was a wonderful Yankee, a worthy Hall of Famer, fine, worthy to be in Monument Park, but to retire his number, I mean, even as legendary a franchise as the Yankees should only have off the top of my head about 6-7 numbers retired. A guy who just barely maybe gets under the Mendoza line for his number to be retired. I don't know how you feel about it. Would be Whitey Ford.
Oh, I miss Linda.
And Whitey Ford, it could go either way in a sense.
Hi, Linda. Yeah, well, I think Whitey Ford obviously is great to say hi to Linda. That's awesome.
Yeah, I missed her comment before. I apologize, Linda.
Whitey Ford was probably the greatest starting pitcher for the Yankees in their history, so I have no problem with him. And I agree with you, as I said at the top, that the numbers should only be retired for the greatest. The problem is when you start retiring numbers for guys who were less than the greatest, that opens up the arguments for Hank Bauer and over Paul O'Neill. Neither should have their number retired. But once you retire it for Paul O'Neill, you say, well, Hank Bauer was better. Why don't we retire his number?
And then you talk about longevity. As much of an impact as Reggie Jackson had, charisma-wise, newspapers,
5 years,
that legendary World Series, the 3 homers, he only played 5 years with the Yankees. He only played 5 years. I mean, I know people could then counter with an argument, well, Sandy Koufax was only incredible for 5 years, but it's a different situation.
Different.
100% different. People make that argument sometimes. Why is Sandy Koufax in the Hall of Fame? He only had 5 good years, and Don Mattingly isn't. He had 5 good years. Right, Don Mattingly had 5 terrific years. Sandy Koufax had 5 out-of-this-world seasons. That's different. But Sandy Koufax dominated like few, if any, ever have. That gets you in the Hall of Fame. Don Mattingly was really, really, really good, and then he wasn't. And so that doesn't get you in the Hall of Fame. But again, with the Hall of Fame, if Kirby Puckett's in, why isn't Mattingly in? I mean, it just, as you dwindle these standards, it opens up the room for lots of other players.
That's a great point. As somebody who thinks Mattingly belongs, but you're right. I mean, once you've watered down the field, everybody looks better. So,
and hypothetically, has Aaron Judge gotten to the point now where he's clinched his number being retired? Let's say Aaron Judge loses it the way Mattingly did late in his career. And let's say Aaron Judge becomes no more than a mediocre player going forward. And mediocre to him would be, let's say, 25 homers a year, hitting 260. Let me put it simple. He becomes what Mike Trout's become. Beginning, let's say, right now from this moment on, he's like Mike Trout the next 7-8 years.
I think he gets it. I think he's there.
Number is to get retired already. What he's done.
The press has been set with Maris, right? I mean, Maris is there because of breaking a record. Judge has to have his number retired just based on one season. Really. Mm-hmm. Well, Maris had back-to-back MVPs. It was more than one season. I get that, but not a long. Similar to Reggie, right? Not a long track record for Roger Maris, and he gets his number retired, but not Nettles.
And again, you could retire Nettles' number because it's already retired.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's already retired. When Nettles came back as a coach in the 80s, after they retired Roger Maris's number, they wouldn't even let him wear number 9, which was his number.
Yeah.
I think he wore number 2. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I did not let Greg Nettles wear his number.
Crazy.
Hey, Doc, let's say before his contract runs out, Giancarlo Stanton staggers to 500 homers. People are going to say he's a Hall of Famer.
No way.
Should he get his number retired by the Yankees? Wait. Considering the amount of players who already have in comparison to them, how can you not retire Giancarlo Stanton's number? If you look at all the other guys, you're keeping them out of the party. You're guarding the gate at the party. You're letting the guests in, and you're going to stop him. Sorry, you don't have the credentials to get in. I need more ID. You're going to tell him, come on.
Tell him to come in with somebody. Get a guest who is in. Bring him in.
No, but if he gets to 500 homers, how can the Yankees not retire his number based on what they've done so far?
500 home runs can't be the barometer anymore because the game's changed so much and there's so many guys hitting home runs. That can't be an automatic entry, right? Just like you can't wait for pitchers to get 300 wins to be automatic because nobody's ever going to get 200 again. So the barometers for the Hall of Fame have changed as far as those levels, right?
100%.
Yeah, can you imagine the Yankees tell Nettles and Roy White they show up there? Sorry, the 60s and 70s, we don't honor those cards. Leave, guys.
It's crazy.
Back more on the book real quickly because this actually is my favorite part of the book. And again, The Greatest Yankees by Number by Dr. Paul Semendinger. Great book. My favorite part of this book, and I want to know what your favorite part of writing this book was. Mine is this conversation because it spurs this type of conversation where we're talking about numbers retired and blah, 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 and who is better at what position, or not what position, but what number. What was your favorite part, Paul, about writing this book?
Well, when you write a book, Keith, and, Jack has a great new book out about Michael Spinks. I don't want to not recognize that.
Yeah, this is about your book, this show.
But thank you, Jack.
Every other show.
Writing a book is a labor of love. It's a labor. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and editing and work and rewriting, and then you get the edits back from the publisher, and then you get annoyed because it's like, oh, I thought I was done, and etc. So you have to love the whole process because it can get you bogged down, and so you just say, got to keep moving forward. But I think the best part is I like to talk about number one. I love the debates. I think the book guarantees that people who read it will have lots of great debates and discussions. I think it helps us remember players who otherwise might be forgotten. I always think it's great that some of the lesser known players have their due and they get their opportunity to be remembered. I also thought it was fun, if you remember in the book Ball 4, that when Jim Bouton was traded for Dooley Womack, that they both have their number as they're both the greatest Yankees at their uniform numbers. I thought that was great.
That's cool.
And the best part is I like saying to people like, who is the greatest Yankee without a uniform number? And then they go like, ooh, Jack Chesborough, Hal Chase, or Bob Shawkey, or they Roger Peckinpah, and they come up with all these great names, Willie Keeler. And the greatest Yankee without a uniform number was Babe Ruth, because he didn't get his number until 1929. So it's just fun. It leads to great conversations, great trivia, and what could be better than just talking about baseball in a positive way? Well,
in the movie For Love of Game, I don't know whether you remember this.
I haven't seen it yet, Jack.
At the bar, Okay, the character Billy Chappell's woman who had a falling out with him, she wants to catch a flight, at the airline bar. And one guy, his flight's delayed and he's happy because he gets to watch the Yankee Tiger game. And he's starting to talk about the numbers going on and on and on. And she says, please don't. But he's ripping off the numbers of the players. But it shows a fascination that a fan has about a number. They like to use that as trivia, talk about it, and it's fun stuff. But this book has a lot more than just the numbers. It has like a lot of statistical information on players, and it has a lot of cross comparisons on things.
Yeah,
I wanted to. It's a good book. Just if you like baseball in general, if you're a purist, it goes beyond, no pun intended, it goes beyond the numbers.
I love that. Thank you. I tried to fill in the gaps on the bottoms of pages and stuff. If there was going to be a space, I tried to come up with some type of a chart or an interesting bunch of statistics that no one ever thought of before that I just figured out myself by doing some research to just like Keith's doing. You flip through it and you see a chart or you see some little piece of information. You say, hey, I never thought of that before. That's kind of fun. So, yeah, thank you, Jack.
But I want to thank you for settling my argument with Keith about Joe Torre's number being retired.
I don't know that it's settled, but you have another person on your side. I don't know about settled or not. And Danny has the same question I have. How have you not watched For Love of the Game yet?
No,
you got to make it a point to watch, especially with the scene about the numbers.
Very interesting movie.
David Cohn said that movie was about his life. Not directly, but really about his
that was
life.
the perfect game. So I saw the movie. I have to take a step back here. Jack and I had Jack on my show about a week or 10 days ago, and Jack brought up that scene, and he says, you have to watch the movie again. I saw it in the theaters when it came out. I was excited about it because the author of the book that the movie is based on is Michael Shihara, who wrote The Killer Angels, which is about the Battle of Gettysburg, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And so I read Shihara's other book, and then I saw the movie in the theater, and I've just never seen it since. So when Jack said, you have to see he started talking about it, I'm like, Jack, I haven't seen it, meaning I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theaters 20 years ago or whatever. But yeah, I saw it once. So I need to see it again. Everyone is.
I got to ask you this question. How do you feel about numbers coming out of retirement? Let's say, hypothetically, you have a scene like this. You ask the player if he's alive, whose number's retired, and let's say that player has a little bit of a financial hardship, but he's offered money. Or we had a situation indirectly with Dave Winfield making a decision to go into the Hall of Fame as a Padre instead of a Yankee because the Padres gave him $1 million.
Wade Boggs.
So that influenced his decision. But you're totally against a number coming out of retirement on any circumstance?
Well, you know what's kind of fun? We had this discussion with Mac a number of years ago when Aaron Rodgers was going to come to the Jets. And the thought was Joe Namath will let him wear number 12. Can you imagine if they took number 12 out of retirement and gave it to Aaron Rodgers, who was a huge disappointment as a Jet? It just was a disaster those couple of years. Why would you have done that? Well, because Aaron Rodgers is great, but he wasn't great as a Jet. No, that's if you retire a number, you retire it. I don't like this stuff about people revisiting Hall of Famers and saying, well, we ought to take them out of the Hall of Fame. Really? What honors have you had in your life? I'm going to go ring your doorbell and say, let me go see something where somebody said something nice about you and take it away. I mean, come on. If you're in the Hall of Fame, you're in. If your number's retired, your number's retired. Let it be.
Rick Sherlock, very quickly, even though it's a sports show.
Yes, Rick.
Let's hear about that.
Rick, look, it's out.
All right.
He's been asking about this for years. It came out early this year.
I got to go look for this now. I didn't know that was out either.
Yes, yeah. This is a sports show. West Point at Gettysburg is the story of every West Point graduate who fought at the Battle of Gettysburg. You can see that this is volume 1, the publisher, different publisher than the Yankee book. This is Sunbury Press. The Yankee book is Artemisia Publishing. The Sunbury said they want me to do it in 3 installments. So volume 1 is out. All the guys whose last names begin from A to G, it gives a little history of every single West Point graduate who fought at the Battle of Gettysburg. Oh, this is good stuff. This is good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Thank you, Rick.
One last note on the love of the game. Kelly Preston did play Billy.
Okay, let's talk about current Yankee baseball, and I guess let's start off maybe with Anthony Volpe. His situation is a little murky right now.
Not murky.
And I think the
Myers.
Yankees are doing it the right way, because if he sits out, 20 games or something like that, stays in the minors 20 more days or whatever, he's delayed for free agency one more year, and that would benefit the Yankees if he turns out to ultimately be what the Yankees want.
I believe that in order to play for a Major League Baseball team, you have to prove that you are able to play at a major league level. And Anthony Volpe has been a huge disappointment. Nobody, I think sometimes when we are critical of players, people say, oh, you don't like them. Like, I like Giancarlo Stanton. I think he's a great guy. He's fun. I was glad that when the Yankees got him. But has he been a great Yankee? No. I was rooting for Anthony Volpe. He's not very good. He has not been good, and he's gotten worse each year. And just because he comes back from an injury and his rehab is over doesn't mean he automatically gets the starting shortstop job if the guy playing there, Jose Caballero, is doing a great job. And he is. So Volpe should go to the minors, prove he belongs, light up the minor leagues, prove that you should be a major leaguer, Volpe. Go down there and hit 380 and play stellar shortstop and make the Yankees have to bring you up. But if you're just going to play mediocre shortstop in the minor leagues, which he has to date in his rehab, then you stay in the minors because the guy in the majors is doing a great job.
And this hasn't got anything to do with service time or anything, I don't think, Jack. I think it's exactly what Paul's saying. And they don't. And by the way, you also, if you bring Volpe up now and throw him in there and he fails and a team starts to fail, then the noise gets even louder than it was last year, which I think, again, not an excuse for Volpe, but part of his problem is I think he reads, the press too much and listens to the fans too much. He would really be getting it if he came up here now and this team started to stall because of him playing more. And he can't sit the bench. He doesn't help you off the bench, right? So he's got to earn his way back, and maybe he won't. I don't know. I like the kid. I always thought he had potential, but he hasn't reached it for whatever reason. But here's the thing, too. Do we judge him too harshly because of the hype before he got here?
I don't think so. I
No?
think he's part of that hype, and I think we hype a lot of players. But if you look, one of my favorite stats, I don't like a lot of the new stats, but I like OPS plus because it's simple. I don't know how they do. I don't know how they figure it out, but I like it because it's based on 100. If you're a 100, you're an average major leaguer. If you're above 100, you're better than average. If you're below 100, you're worse than average. If you're close to 100, you're about average. Volpe's OPS plus has been in the 80s all 3 seasons. He's well below major league average hitter, and his defense has gotten worse. He led the league in errors last year. You know what? He has nothing to be ashamed of. He was a Yankee, and he was a very good Yankee, and he won the Rookie of the Year, and he didn't he? I think, and he won a Gold Glove. Maybe he didn't win Rookie of the Year, but he won the gold. I think he won the Gold Glove at least. And hey, that's a lot to be proud of. That's a lot more than billions of other people. I would have died to have just 1 inning as a Yankee, let alone 3 seasons.
I mean, there's flexibility. You can move Caballero to third base because McMahon's not really hitting. Even though the last few games he's come around a little bit. And even at second base, Chaz Chisholm, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He's not going to sign with the Yankees in all likelihood because they're not going to come up with the type of offer he wants. He was talking crazy money in the offseason, what he was going to get. That was insane. So what's their obligation towards Chaz Chisholm? And is a player like that intimidating because of his personality? If you sit Chaz Chisholm on the bench, he becomes a distraction.
I'm of the mindset that you play the best players that you have. And I'm not a fan of moving guys. I was against the put Chaz Chisholm at third base thing 2 different seasons. The major leagues is not a place to give a guy who's never played a position an opportunity to play that. So Caballero has played third, but only in a reserve role. He's never been a starting third baseman. So he's not a third baseman. I don't think you just say, oh, go play third now. That then weakens you in another position. At least Ryan McMahon is a third baseman. So let him play until you get a better third baseman. But you don't get a better third baseman by taking somebody who didn't play third and say, yeah, now you're going to play there. It makes no sense.
I would be willing to play Rosario against righties, at least some righties, and put McMahon in late, for defense is what I would do there.
Yeah, and that's what they're
Rosario's
doing.
Played well.
It's working.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been tough. Jack brought up the fact that I'm as tough on Aaron Boone as you are. So neither one of us are Boone fans. I mean, but I have to give him a little bit of credit right now, because if you told me this team would be 23-11, is that what they are? I think 23-11 today. And we haven't seen anything yet from, Cole and Rendon, who I'm not crazy about, but still, I mean, they've had injuries. We still got a problem, with fourth outfielder, a little at third base. And I'm happy at 23-11. I never thought this team would start 23-11 with the issues they have early on.
And they're playing aggressively. Taking the extra base, double steals, etc.
What's your thought, Paul?
It took Aaron Boone. Maybe it just took him 8 years to figure it all out.
Now there are certain things, and I have called out a few things that he did foolishly. But again, he's 23-11. I mean, there was a couple of games I thought they were behind, and he might have given away because he's letting guys with no hits bat in the ninth inning when he's got bats on the bench.
He sent J.C. Escara up as a pinch hitter in one game. What was that? You had Paul Goldschmidt sitting on the bench, and he did that a couple times early in the season. But right now he's making the right moves, and he's playing Ben Rice against lefties. And now Dominguez better play tonight. He had a great day yesterday. Now keep him out there. Keep rolling. Don't mess with that. Like, that's part of the Boone thing. What he does, he
needs the confidence.
Stays off when they don't need them.
That's a great point.
We've gotten into two arguments, Dr. Paul, in a past show. You won one and I won one, as far as I'm concerned. So
Jack, I remember winning every argument.
No, the one you won that you were correct on reflection, the Yankees should have signed Bryce Harper. I was against it at the time. I didn't want to deal with Scott Boras. He would have thrived as a Yankee big time. I was wrong there. The one you were wrong on was the Aaron Judge contract thing, where I said he'd have to be out of his mind to sign for the $30 million a year, and you thought that should be a line in the sand. As it turned out, the Yankees have a bargain at $40 million a year with Aaron Judge. On reflection, he should have demanded an opt-out at some point to the Yankees, then would have had to give him $50 million a year, which they gladly would have done to keep him. I mean, because Aaron Judge has been like the perfect Yankee in every way, shape, and form, not just as a player, but as a representative as well.
That's fair.
Okay, you win.
No, you won the Harper thing. You clearly, I should have gotten him. I was wrong.
Jack already decided. When Jack would box, he scored his own fights too. He was good at that, so undefeated he was. Dr. Paul, one more time, hold the book up and tell us where we can get it. If you haven't already, get this book, guys.
The Greatest New York Yankees by uniform number. You can get it everywhere. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Here's the coolest thing ever. It's in, and a number of my books are, but it always just makes me so happy. It's in the bookstores. Like if you go into Barnes & Noble, it's there. I had a friend who is in Barnes & Noble in Central PA. He goes, hey, I'm in Barnes & Noble. I said, see if my book's there. And he went to the shelf, and there it was. It kind of affirms that you're a real life author. So yes, it should be everywhere. And if you go to a bookstore and it's not there, tell them, get this book, and they'll get it for you. Great stuff. And we're going to have Dr. Paul on the MLB update here in a couple of weeks too, which if you hang around after we sign off, Paul will try to come up with a date when we can do it for sure. That sounds great. Always like being with you guys. Great job. I'm glad you came and joined us this morning. Guys, get the book. And Jack, we'll see you on Friday. We'll see everybody on Friday. Jack will see everybody on Glove Fist tonight with Frank Laterzo. Make sure you catch them. Anything you want to plug there, Jack? No, it's a great book. Like I said, it has so much more information beyond just the numbers. I mean, to hear the Yankees by the numbers
but it has a lot of fascinating baseball information, and it reminds us of things that we clearly forget, like Leo DeRocha was actually a Yankee. Something like that.
There's a lot of fun facts in here for sure.
Yeah.
And Jack and Frank will be talking about that on Glove Fist tonight too, I think. So check that out. We'll see you guys later.
Anthony Joshua's next opponent as our guest on Glove Fist tonight, Christian Pranger.
Good stuff, guys. We'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.